The Calgary Flames absolutely have to find a way to improve their roster in a way that does not set them too far back, but they cannot do the absolute most.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me here today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Today, figured we could kind of examine and dive deeper into what the Flames could do, what they should do, and what they need to avoid doing, especially with free agency less than a month away. I feel like we got to all see how Craig Conroy navigates his real first free agency with money. You know, last year, obviously, the Flames were strapped for cash, so it wasn't too hard to test. Now it's the real test. We're going to talk all about that and what we should be looking for in the current roster coming up this fall. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are here for you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, your team every day. It is a little frustrating, right? When you have not played a game in almost 2 months and the playoffs are still going and you're watching the Stanley Cup final, kind of come together, and it is the biggest rival in your geographically, and then the team that you traded your franchise player to for a guy who was supposed to be something more than what he is. And, I can't say anything bad about Mackenzie Weegar. He's been great. It's tough. Like, it is a very tough pill to swallow. And obviously, congratulations to Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk for heading back to the Stanley Cup final for the second year in a row. Good job. But I feel like with the summer rapidly approaching here, the off season, I guess, where transaction stuff starts, you have to evaluate the Flames. You have to look at them, because while some of us look at this team and think, okay, like, you gotta just tear it all down, there's still belief in the locker room, apparently, that this team could be a playoff team. I love their spirit, their resilience, and they're so headstrong. I appreciate that. But we also need to look at what the reality more so looks like, and that's continuing to have a tough season, a continuation of last year. And it's going to be worse because obviously you don't have Chris Tanev and Noah Hanifin. You needed those guys, but you don't have them anymore. And none of this is going to be fun. None of this is really going to be good. Like, you're not going to have a warm, fuzzy feeling when you sit down and watch the Flames. A few years ago, you could say, oh, this is some teams like Stanley Cup. This is some, like, the Flames. If they beat the Flames, this is like their biggest feat of the season because of how good they were. And boy, the tables have turned drastically and rapidly in the blink of an eye, right? But you have to look at the bigger picture. It's not just about this season or next season. It is about years to come. You have to use a wide angle lens to look at this. And right now, their short-term goal, I'm going to assume is going to be goaltending. Okay. I know that we have talked about this a lot so far this summer, but they're going to find a way to usher Dustin Wolf in and get truly acclimated in the NHL and do it the right way. He's an RFA this summer, so obviously he's going to sign an extension unless he's like, please trade my rights. And then we're opening another can of worms, but I don't think that that's happening. And it feels like Markstrom is gone. And that's why this kind of stinks even more, because you could have and should have sold him, traded him during the season. And that way, you sold high and you get the most for your return. The driving force behind, axing this, that trade is, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's fair, especially when, you ask Markstrom to do all that and then you just get kind of shot in the foot. Like, you just kind of sabotage your relationship. But who else needs a goaltender right now? Obviously, New Jersey, LA, Colorado. Could you look at some other teams? I don't think St. Louis is going to be in that picture. Maybe Philly. It all depends on who has the best offer and really where Jacob Markstrom desires to go. Because at the end of the day, he could just hold this team hostage and say, no, I'm staying. That's fine. I'm going to, try to do you guys a favor. And it came back to bite me in the butt. Why would I do that again? So regardless, you have to figure out a way to break this logjam at goaltending. You gotta get Dustin Wolf some consistent starts in the NHL next season. It's really that simple. I feel like we were having this conversation last summer too, because it felt like last year was right. I guess it wasn't, according to the people who make the big decisions. And now this summer, it's like, it's right there. Give him the little nudge he needs to get consistent time in the NHL. Do him a solid. Coming up next, we're going to talk about really what they cannot be doing. Okay, let's call it for what it is. The Flames need to avoid doing this. They need to take some notes here in red pen, underline things, asterisk, make notes, because this is the exact opposite of what you want your team to be doing at this point in time with their rebuild, retool, reconstruction, whatever you're calling it. And we are going to take a quick break here, and I want to talk to you about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you'll ever need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available for U.S. customers. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I hope you're having a great day, and thank you for making Locked On Flames part of your day. I know the off-season is long, and I miss the Flames, and I'm sure a lot of us do, and other people are really enjoying not having their nights held hostage by a hockey team, right? Not me, though. I desperately miss this team. And thank you for making Locked On Flames part of your day. There are a lot of things the Flames shouldn't do this offseason. I don't think that they need to go make a bunch of different personnel changes. I think that, again, familiarity is good. The issue with the power play had nothing to do with Mark Savard, but rather the personnel he had to hit the players. And who they bring in as an assistant coach will definitely be interesting. I wonder what's going to happen, especially as the offseason rolls on. Like, it feels like everyone is kind of losing their job and going elsewhere. It's interesting. But for once, they're not firing a coach. They're not firing a general manager. They're more than likely not trading, well, probably just Jacob Markstrom, I guess. So one of the faces of your franchise. But it's not Gaudreau or Kachuk, right? Probably never have that again. Hopefully we have the players like that, just not trades like that. But the thing with the Flames here is free agency is a test. We talk about it a lot, especially during the season when Nick has been on the show, that there's like a free agency tax, like a July 1st tax. Everyone kind of gets a little bit overpaid. And you don't want to do that. You do not want to lock yourself into a contract that is longer than what you really think it should be. And the money, you don't want to be throwing money at people. That you got to keep your options open. And you are not in a position to keep players tied up long term. You look at Mangiapane, who is approaching free agency a year from now. He'll be 29 years. 29? Yeah. Oh, wow. That means I'm going to be 29 too. Okay, wow. Yeah, so he'll be 29 entering free agency, and he's going to want a long-term deal. That's his opportunity. Rasmus Andersson in a few years, same thing. It's not something you want to lock yourself into. I look at a lot of players and rosters and how, like, I would call these guys like easy Jenga pieces. They're ones that just kind of move without much work, but they're like, you're still good if you move it. The tower's not going to fall down. If you've never played Jenga, watch a video. But I looked at a few different players that immediately came to mind, and I would have to say, I can't believe I'm doing this on the record, but Chicago did a good job with this, with Ryan Donato and even Nick Foligno. Nick Foligno obviously was traded from Boston to Chicago, and they signed him to an extension, and he's been a veteran presence this season and has really taken Connor Bedard under his wing. You need guys like that. He's over 35. Like, he has that, he's been around the block a few times, and it means a lot to guys in the locker room. He was really the heartbeat of the team, I would say. And Taylor Hall is obviously there too, injured, but I think Taylor Hall is just someone that's always going to be on the move. I don't see him ever having a long-term home, which is kind of sad. Like, his career has really gotten thrown off kilter by injuries. But Ryan Donato is really the player I wanted to talk about here. Drafted by the Bruins, ended up getting traded to Minnesota for a few seasons, and then ended up going to Seattle, right? And he was a really big part of Seattle's first two seasons. And it was great. You felt like he was going to be part of that organization for a long time, and then Seattle lets him walk. And he signs with Chicago for 2 seasons, and he's still like effective. I mean, he's 28. He's not, like a younger guy that we're going to talk about here in a minute, but he holds his own. He helps the offense. And when you're looking at your roster, you just want players that you can just like effectively plug and go. Like, you're fine. And I think about those low risk, high reward players. One thing this team is lacking is physicality. And you can look at Martin Pospisil and say, well, he's pretty physical. I am not talking about playing on the edge. You need someone that is a big dude, big rig, and can throw themselves around and have no problem with it. There's a difference when it's just nonsense. Like, I think of Mangiapane cross-checking a Kraken player at the start of last season, Rasmus Andersson knocking Patrick Laine out, basically, Martin Pospisil sucker punching Brad Marchand and getting suspended. Like, that's not the physicality I'm talking about. Someone that can throw a good hip check and kind of leave players like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Or, oh, I need to watch myself. And I think Pat Maroon is a perfect example of that. Pat Maroon has floated around the league for years and years, and he has been successful. And everyone, including myself, considered him like this player that just tagged along and was like a member of the group project that did no work but got an A. But no, he has those intangibles too that coaches like. Someone that can rally up and rile up a locker room, get players going. He's a winner. These teams love to bring in former Stanley Cup champions. Blake Coleman, I think of immediately. That he's one of those guys. And Pat Maroon, similar situation. Do I think the Flames should sign Pat Maroon? I don't know. I think it would be an interesting experiment. You really have nothing to lose. Throw him on the fourth line. Like, yeah, he could potentially be taking a spot away from a young player, but so could some of these other situations. Like, I don't know. You probably don't need Pat Maroon on your roster. However, maybe you need a guy like Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk, his last 2 deals have been 2-year deals, little bridge deals. Did not want to sign long-term. Well, regardless, I don't know which party it was. But 2 bridge deals to get to free agency status. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like he wants double what he is currently making. And I don't think the Bruins are going to offer him that. And it doesn't sound like that's the way it's going to go. Jake DeBrusk, signed him to a 4-year deal. He's back home in Alberta. He can play those top 6 minutes and put up 25 goals for you. Great. That's what you need. You need someone to do that. And I look at Alexis Lafreniere, who's an RFA next season. His name was kind of floated around along with Capo Caco earlier in this last season because they were struggling. And I think Capo Caco is like probably going to be the more likely one of the 2 to get traded just because Lafreniere had an incredible season and a pretty solid postseason run as well. It would cost a lot to get him. He's only 22. RFA, you still got that team control. So it's tough. You have to really consider the risks. And thankfully, I don't get paid to do that, because I would make some really bad decisions, and I would probably be enemy number one. Actually, I'd probably think a little bit more logically than some of these general managers. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the expectations and what you should want and what the Flames under contract right now need to give you. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to talk to you about FanDuel. It is winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to spend on spread, money line, player props, and more. The Stanley Cup Finals are right around the corner, and you could put something together like a McDavid goal, 3 shots on net for Sam Reinhart, however many, the money line for Edmonton. If you want, get creative with it. FanDuel has you covered. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. It's very easy to just focus on, what they could bring in, right? You can get, shark in the water, and there's blood. And those little free agents and cap friendly, it's a nice, delectable dinner. But no, you also have a whole team under contract as well that you have to kind of factor into these things. And it's not about who you bring in or who you say goodbye to, but what can you do to get the most out of this roster? I'm not even going to waste my breath. Jonathan Huberdeau. We all know, we are all fully aware and conscious of what needs to go on there. Rasmus Andersson, who obviously struggled this past season. Sometimes it really just looked like he was caught out there in no man's land in a whole different universe. I don't know where he was. Obviously, his wife was pregnant through the entirety of the season, so I'm sure that was a big factor, as well as him coming back after nearly dying after getting hit by a car. I always forget how severe that accident was until I go back. I did an episode on it probably a month ago now, evaluating Rasmus Andersson's season and going over how significant that injury was. And he should not have played after he came back, but he should have been shut down for the season. I think you're really going to need him to step up and get back to Rasmus Andersson. You need the guy who's going to shoot, who is quarterbacking power play 1 and is going to shoot that nasty slap shot. There were so many times this season where I was watching him, especially on the power play, and be like, this, it's happening. It's happening. A clapper's coming. We got this. And it just wouldn't. He'd pass it. Oh, what was the reason? It was not we're missing something there. Hopefully he is fully healed and focused by the time training camp rolls around. Obviously, you want another great season from Sharon Govich. This will be a contract year for him too, so you could either sign him for a little bit longer or you can flip him. Same thing with Kuzmenko. I want to see something special from the both of them, but I think a full season potentially of Kuzmenko could be great. And I think that him coming in on the power play, really good things there. Very good things there. I think that the biggest thing for the Flames is going to be kind of shifting responsibilities, because I don't think I don't think it's fair to expect Mackenzie Weegar to block all these shots. Obviously that was Chris Tanev's job, and Chris Tanev is no longer employed by the Calgary Flames. So you have to find balance there. I don't know how you're making up for lost ground with Chris Tanev. I hate saying that because, you hope when you win a trade or when you make a trade, it's like, okay, I got it. We're still figuring things out there. And I want to see a continuation of good offense from Mackenzie Weegar. Just overall, fantastic defenseman as well. Great year for him. I want to see these young children step up. I want to see more out of Coronado. I want to see more out of Jacob Pelletier. I want to see Jeremy Poirier in the NHL. I want to see Solyov playing, third pairing minutes. I want Connor Zary to be doing Connor Zary things on a line with Kadri and Pospisil. I want Pospisil to have another great season, but a safe season. And right now, this team has a foundation. It's up to them if they want to just immediately build and risk the house falling down relatively soon after, or if they want to kind of wait it out and, take their time with it and make sure it's done right. And we'll see that test. That test is coming right around the corner. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I hope you had a fantastic start to your week and are enjoying, hopefully, the nice warm weather wherever you are. It's finally warming up here and love the sunshine. So subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. I'm here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your team every day. Nick will be back joining the show after the Oilers lose the Stanley Cup. So you'll see him again real soon. But until tomorrow, stay safe, stay warm, stay dry, stay hydrated, and be kind.